Black woman missed her train to help a child, but her act of kindness changed her life forever. The digital display read 8:17 a.m., 3 minutes until the downtown express departed. Maya Roberts clutched her leather portfolio tighter, shoulders tense as she weaved through the crowd at Meridian Station. The interview at Caldwell and Associates was at 9:15 a.m. sharp, her one shot at the senior marketing director position she'd spent 10 years working toward. Her phone buzzed. A text from her best friend Aisha. "You got this. Text me the moment you're done." Maya smiled briefly before tucking her phone away. Her hand instinctively touched the small scar above her right eyebrow, a nervous habit from childhood. The train platform was packed with Monday morning commuters, all wearing the same determined expression. That's when she heard it, a small, desperate sob cutting through the mechanical announcements and impatient murmurs. Maya glanced to her right and spotted a small boy, no older than 7, pressing himself against a pillar. His eyes were wide with panic, tears streaming down his brown cheeks. People rushed past him, absorbed in their own urgencies. Maya checked the time again. 8:18 a.m. The train was already at the platform. The boy's eyes met hers for a fleeting moment, a silent plea cutting through the noise. "Last call for the 8:20 Downtown Express," announced the overhead speaker. Maya stood frozen between two paths, board the train that would secure her professional future or help the child that everyone else was too busy to notice. 10 years of work, countless late nights, and a lifetime of pushing against invisible barriers had led to today's interview. She couldn't be late. She couldn't miss this train. The boy wiped his eyes with a small fist, looking impossibly small in the vast station. "Doors closing on track 3, the announcement echoed. In that split second, Maya made her choice. She turned away from the train and walked toward the child. Behind her, the doors of the 8:20 Downtown Express slid shut with a decisive hiss. "Hey there," Maya said, kneeling down to eye level with the boy. "Are you okay?" Up close, she could see the superhero logo on his backpack and the way his shoulders trembled with each breath. His eyes darted nervously around the station. "I can't find my dad," he whispered, his voice barely audible above the station's cacophony. He was right here, and then the boy's voice cracked. "My name's Maya, what's yours?" She kept her voice steady, the way her mother had taught her when approaching frightened animals on their small farm in Georgia. "Eli," he managed. "Well, Eli, we're going to find your dad." Maya glanced at her watch, 8:23 a.m. The next train wouldn't arrive for 20 minutes, and even then, she'd never make the interview on time. She pushed the thought away. "Can you tell me what your dad looks like?" "He's tall. He has glasses and a blue jacket," Eli said, his breath still coming in small gasps. "He said to never talk to strangers, but you're doing the right thing," Maya assured him. "Sometimes we need help, and that's okay. Let's go to the station security office. They'll know exactly what to do." As they walked, Maya sent a quick text to the hiring manager at Caldwell and Associates, her fingers trembling slightly. "Family emergency. Need to reschedule interview. Sincere apologies." The reply came almost instantly. "Position must be filled today. We'll keep your resume on file for future opportunities." Maya stared at the screen, feeling a wave of numbness wash over her. 10 years of preparation dissolved in 10 seconds. She slipped her phone into her pocket and forced a smile for Eli. "Is your dad waiting for you somewhere?" she asked, focusing on the child beside her. "We were going to his office," Eli said. "It was supposed to be fun. Bring your kid to work day." The station security office was small but orderly. A gray-haired woman with a name tag reading Officer Martinez looked up as they entered. "I found this young man alone on the platform," Maya explained. "He's looking for his father." Officer Martinez nodded, motioning for Eli to come closer. "What's your dad's name, sweetie?" "David Chen," Eli said, sounding calmer now. "He works at Griffin Technologies." Maya felt a small jolt. Griffin Technologies was one of the clients she'd researched extensively for her interview portfolio, a portfolio now sitting uselessly in her bag. "We'll make an announcement," Officer Martinez said, reaching for her radio. "And I'll need you to fill out a form, ma'am, since you found him." As Maya completed the paperwork, the office door burst open. A man in a blue jacket rushed in, his glasses slightly askew on his face. "Eli!" he exclaimed, dropping to his knees as the boy ran into his arms. "I turned around and you were gone. I've been looking everywhere." "I got lost," Eli mumbled into his father's shoulder. "But the nice lady helped me." David Chen looked up at Maya, gratitude evident in his exhausted eyes. "Thank you, I don't know how to—" "It's no problem," Maya said, meaning it despite everything she'd sacrificed. "Anyone would have done the same." "No," he said firmly, standing up with Eli still clinging to him. "They wouldn't." I watched people walk past him for 15 minutes while I searched the other platforms. Maya felt something tighten in her chest. 15 minutes. If she'd walked past Eli like everyone else, she would be sitting in the Caldwell and Associates waiting room right now, reviewing her talking points one last time. "I'm David," he said, extending his hand. "David Chen, and you've already met my son, Eli." "Maya Roberts," she replied, shaking his hand. "Ms. Roberts stayed with your son until you arrived," Officer Martinez added. "Brought him straight to security instead of just pointing the way. That's good protocol." David nodded, still looking at Maya. "Let me buy you a coffee or something. It's the least I can do." "Actually, I need to figure out my next steps," Maya said, gesturing vaguely toward the trains. "I missed an important meeting." "Because of me?" Eli asked, his eyes widening with concern. I hesitated, caught between honesty and kindness. "Because I made a choice," she finally said, "and I'd make the same one again." David studied her for a moment, something shifting in his expression. "What kind of meeting?" "A job interview," Maya admitted. "At Caldwell and Associates." "Marketing position?" David asked, his eyebrows rising. Maya nodded, surprised. "Senior director role." David reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. "Griffin Technologies," he said, handing it to her. "I'm their chief innovation officer. Caldwell handles some of our smaller accounts, but honestly, we've been considering bringing more marketing in-house." He paused. "Come by my office tomorrow, 9 o'clock. Maya stared at the card, then back at David. "Is this a pity interview?" "This is me recognizing someone who makes the right choice under pressure," David replied. "Someone who prioritizes what matters, even at personal cost." He gestured toward Eli, who was now examining a safety poster on the wall. "That's exactly the kind of person I want on my team." As Maya left the station 30 minutes later, the morning sunlight felt different, somehow warmer, more promising than it had when she arrived. She'd missed her train, lost her shot at her dream job, and somehow ended up exactly where she needed to be. She didn't know it yet, but that split-second decision on the platform had just altered the entire trajectory of her life. The Griffin Technologies building stood like a gleaming monument to innovation in the heart of downtown, its glass exterior reflecting the morning sun as Maya approached the entrance. She'd spent the previous evening researching everything she could about the company, their products, their culture, their marketing strategy. She straightened her burgundy blazer and touched the small scar above her eyebrow before entering the lobby, where modern furniture and ambient lighting created an atmosphere of sophisticated creativity. At the reception desk, a young man with a neatly trimmed beard greeted her. "Maya Roberts for David Chen," she said, trying to keep her voice steady despite the flutter of nerves in her stomach. "He's expecting you," the receptionist replied, handing her a visitor badge. "15th floor. The elevator will take you directly to executive reception." As the elevator ascended, Maya reflected on the strange turns life could take. Just yesterday morning, she'd been so focused on Caldwell and Associates, convinced it was her one opportunity for advancement. Now, she stood in the headquarters of one of the most progressive tech companies in the city, about to meet with someone far higher in the corporate hierarchy than anyone she would have met at Caldwell. The elevator doors opened to reveal a spacious reception area with stunning city views. Before Maya could announce herself, a familiar small figure came barreling around the corner. "It's you, Dad, she's here," Eli exclaimed, skidding to a stop in front of Maya. He wore a child-sized Griffin Technologies t-shirt and had a visitor badge clipped to his jeans. David appeared a moment later, smiling apologetically. "School's closed for teacher development today," he explained. "Bring your kid to work day, round 2. "Is that why you scheduled the interview today?" Maya asked. "Partially," David admitted, "but also because our marketing team needs help yesterday. Come on back to my office. Eli, can you please ask Ms. Winters to bring in those reports we talked about?" Eli nodded importantly and scurried off on his mission. David's office was a blend of cutting-edge technology and personal touches, family photos, children's artwork, and a small collection of vintage film cameras displayed on a shelf. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city skyline. "So," he said, gesturing for Maya to take a seat across from his desk, "tell me about your background." For the next hour, their conversation flowed naturally from Maya's experience in digital marketing to Griffin's current challenges with product messaging. David proved to be an engaged listener, asking insightful questions that allowed Maya to showcase both her technical knowledge and creative thinking. "Our biggest hurdle," David explained, "is communicating complex technology in a way that resonates with everyday users. We've got brilliant engineers, but sometimes they speak a different language than our customers." "That's actually been my specialty," Maya said, pulling out her portfolio. "Translating technical features into human benefits." May I show you some examples? As she displayed campaigns she'd created for previous clients, she noted the growing interest in David's expression. When Eli returned with a middle-aged woman carrying a folder of reports, David was leaning forward, completely absorbed in Maya's presentation. "Ms. Winters, this is Maya Roberts," David introduced them. "Maya, Janet Winters is our VP of Talent and probably the person you'll be working with most directly if you join us." If. Janet raised an eyebrow, glancing between David and Maya. "Based on what I'm hearing from the hallway, this sounds more like a when." "We haven't discussed position or compensation yet," David said. "Actually," Janet interjected, "we're looking to fill two positions, the marketing manager role we initially discussed and a new director of community engagement. That one reports directly to me." She turned to Maya. "David mentioned you have a background in both corporate and nonprofit sectors." Maya nodded, slightly surprised. 5 years in corporate, 3 in nonprofit before returning to the business world. "I'd like to steal her for lunch," Janet said to David. "We can discuss both opportunities and see which might be the better fit." As they stood to leave, Eli tugged on his father's sleeve. "Can I come too?" "Not this time, buddy," David said. "This is a business lunch, but how about you and I grab ice cream this afternoon while Maya and Ms. Winters finish talking?" Eli considered this compromise, then nodded his acceptance. During lunch at an upscale restaurant near the office, Janet outlined both positions in detail. The marketing manager role would involve leading a team of 5, overseeing digital campaigns, and reporting to the marketing director. The community engagement position, while newer, offered more autonomy and a direct line to executive leadership. "The community role intrigues me," Maya admitted. "But I'm curious why you'd consider me for a director-level position when we've just met." Janet set down her water glass and leaned forward. "Because David Chen doesn't miss his son's first baseball game for just anyone, but he called me last night to discuss creating a position for someone he'd met just hours earlier." "I don't understand," Maya said, confused. "Yesterday was Eli's first Little League game." David had taken the morning off to have breakfast with him before dropping him at school. When they got separated at the station, David missed the game looking for him. Janet studied Maya's reaction. "He told me what you did, missing your own opportunity to help his son. That kind of character reference carries weight here." Maya felt an unexpected wave of emotion. "I just did what felt right in the moment." "Exactly," Janet said with a knowing smile. "And at Griffin, we believe those instinctual choices reveal more about a person than any rehearsed interview answer." By the time they returned to the office, Maya had a clear preference for the community engagement role, which would allow her to bridge Griffin's technological innovations with real-world community needs, a perfect blend of her corporate skills and her passion for social impact. David's office, where he and Eli were sharing a tablet screen, Janet announced, "We have a candidate for the Director of Community Engagement position." David looked up, a subtle smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "I had a feeling," he said. "When can you start?" "I'd need to give 2 weeks' notice," Maya replied, still processing the rapid turn of events. "Perfect," David said. "That gives us time to prepare your onboarding." He extended his hand. "Welcome to Griffin Technologies, Maya." As they shook hands, Eli gave a small cheer from his corner of the office. Walking home that evening, Maya couldn't help but marvel at life's unexpected trajectories. 24 hours earlier, she'd been devastated by a missed opportunity. Now she had accepted a position that exceeded her original ambitions, with a company whose values aligned more closely with her own. She pulled out her phone to call Aisha, but paused when she saw an email notification from Caldwell and Associates. "Position filled. Thank you for your interest." Maya smiled and closed the notification without a trace of regret. Sometimes, the train you're meant to catch isn't the one you were running for. The first 3 months at Griffin Technologies passed in a whirlwind of new faces, challenging projects, and unexpected opportunities. Maya's role as Director of Community Engagement quickly expanded beyond its initial parameters as she identified untapped potential in connecting Griffin's innovations with community needs. Her office on the 12th floor became a hub of activity, a space where community leaders, developers, and marketing specialists converged to create programs that showcased Griffin's technologies while addressing real social challenges. "I'm telling you," Maya said, gesturing enthusiastically to the team gathered around her conference table. "The facial recognition software the R&D team is developing has applications beyond consumer electronics. Think about using it to help reunite missing persons with their families." Janet Winters, who had become both mentor and friend, nodded thoughtfully. The Technology for Humanity initiative you're proposing would certainly differentiate us from competitors who are just chasing the next consumer gadget. And boost our brand perception, added Marcus Delgado, the marketing specialist assigned to Maya's team. People want to support companies that demonstrate social responsibility. As the meeting concluded, Janet lingered behind. David's impressed with your work, she said. The board meeting is next Friday. He wants you to present your initiative. Maya felt a flutter of nervousness. The full board, that's usually reserved for department heads with years of experience. Consider it an opportunity to secure funding for your program, Janet replied with a knowing smile. I've added you to the calendar, 2 o'clock main boardroom. Later that afternoon, Maya was deep in preparation for the board presentation when a text message interrupted her concentration. Eli has a school performance tonight. His mom is out of town for work. Would it be weird if I asked you to come? He specifically requested you. No pressure. David, Maya stared at the message, surprised by the invitation. In the months since joining Griffin, she'd seen Eli occasionally when he visited the office, and they'd developed a friendly rapport. But attending a school function felt like crossing into more personal territory. After a moment's hesitation, she replied, Not weird at all. What time? That evening, Maya found herself sitting next to David in an elementary school auditorium filled with parents clutching phones and cameras. The fourth-grade class was performing a play about historical inventors, and Eli had been cast as Thomas Edison. Thanks for coming, David whispered as the lights dimmed. His mom tries to make everything, but this conference in Boston couldn't be rescheduled. Are you co-parenting? Maya asked before she could stop herself. Divorced 3 years ago, David replied, his eyes on the stage where children in historical costumes were assembling. Amicable but complicated with schedules. Michelle is a surgeon. The conversation paused as the play began. Eli, wearing a makeshift lab coat and sporting a wild white wig, delivered his lines with surprising confidence. When he held up his light bulb invention, he looked directly at where they were sitting, and his face broke into a delighted grin. He sees us, David whispered, a note of pride in his voice. Us, Maya thought, unexpectedly moved by the simple pronoun and what it implied that she belonged there in that moment, witnessing this small but significant achievement in Eli's life. After the performance, they waited in the school hallway while Eli changed out of his costume. The walls were lined with student artwork and motivational posters, creating a nostalgic atmosphere that reminded Maya of her own childhood. You know, David said, leaning against the wall beside her, I keep thinking about that day at the station, how different things might have been if you'd gotten on your train. I try not to dwell on what-ifs, Maya replied. My grandmother always said that looking backward too much gives you a crick in your neck. David laughed. She sounds wise. But sometimes looking back helps you appreciate where you are now. His voice softened. I never properly thanked you. You gave me a job, Maya pointed out. I gave you an interview, he corrected. You earned the job, and you've exceeded every expectation since then. Before Maya could respond, Eli emerged from the classroom, his face bright with post-performance excitement. You came, he exclaimed, looking at Maya. Did you see when I made the light bulb work? It was the highlight of the show, Maya assured him, earning a proud smile. Can we get ice cream? Eli asked, looking between Maya and his father. To celebrate? David glanced at Maya with a questioning expression. If Maya doesn't have other plans. Ice cream sounds perfect, she said, surprised by how much she meant it. At the ice cream shop, sitting across from David and Eli, watching them debate the merits of various toppings, Maya experienced an unexpected feeling of belonging. This impromptu celebration felt more genuine than any of the networking events or professional gatherings she'd attended in recent years. I like having you around, Eli announced suddenly, looking up from his chocolate-laden creation. Dad smiles more. David nearly choked on his ice cream. Eli, he said, his cheeks coloring slightly, remember what we said about personal observations, that some thoughts can stay inside our heads, Eli recited, though he didn't look particularly remorseful. Maya found herself suppressing a smile, both touched and amused by the child's candor. Well, I like being around too, she said diplomatically. You both make work more interesting. As they walked to the parking lot afterward, Eli skipping ahead, David cleared his throat. About what Eli said. Children are observant, Maya replied lightly. Yes, but David hesitated. I wouldn't want you to feel uncomfortable at work because my son has decided to play matchmaker. Maya found herself touched by his concern. It would take more than that to make me uncomfortable, David, and for what it's worth, I've enjoyed today, all of it. Something shifted in his expression, relief, perhaps, or something more complicated. Good, he said simply, because I've enjoyed it too. That night, as Maya prepared for bed, she found herself reflecting on the unexpected turns her life had taken since that fateful morning at the train station. Not only had she found a job that challenged and fulfilled her, but she'd also found connections she hadn't realized she was missing, both professional and personal. As she drifted off to sleep, it occurred to her that missing that train had actually put her precisely on track, just not the one she'd originally planned to take. The board meeting arrived with unexpected complications. An hour before Maya was scheduled to present, a system-wide technical glitch threatened to derail the entire Technology for Humanity demonstration she had prepared. "The facial recognition demo isn't loading," Marcus reported, his usual calm demeanor showing cracks of panic. "We've got the slides as backup, but without the live demonstration." "The impact won't be the same," Maya finished, already scrolling through her contacts. "Let me call Vijay in R&D, he might be able to fix it remotely." 10 minutes later, hunched over laptops in Maya's office, Vijay Patel worked frantically to restore the demo while Maya refined her talking points to accommodate potential technical difficulties. "I can get it working," Vijay said, "but it won't have all the features we plan to showcase. The age progression algorithm isn't cooperating." Maya weighed her options. "Focus on the core recognition function. That's the heart of the initiative anyway, being able to match missing persons with database photos regardless of time elapsed." The phone on her desk rang, Janet calling from the boardroom. "They're running ahead of schedule. Can you present in 15 minutes instead of 30? "We'll be ready," Maya promised, ending the call and turning to her team. "Marcus, finalize the slides. Vijay, get whatever version of the demo is working onto the presentation laptop. I'm going to change my approach slightly." As they scrambled to adjust, David appeared in her office doorway looking slightly concerned. "Everything okay? I heard there were technical issues." "Nothing we can't handle," Maya assured him, projecting more confidence than she felt. "The full demo won't be ready, but we've got a solid backup plan." David studied her for a moment. "You know, the board doesn't expect perfection. They expect problem-solving and adaptability, which you're demonstrating right now." He glanced at his watch. 5 minutes. "I'll see you in there." The boardroom was intimidating, a long table surrounded by 12 of the company's most senior executives and major investors. Maya recognized most of them from her research, including Elaine Griffin, the company's founder and chairperson. As Maya set up her presentation, she noticed Janet give her an encouraging nod from across the room. David, seated near the head of the table, maintained a professional neutrality, but his eyes conveyed support. "Good afternoon," Maya began, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her stomach. "I'm here to present Griffin Technologies' Technology for Humanity initiative, a program that leverages our cutting-edge facial recognition software for social impact." She moved through the initial slides with practiced ease, outlining the market potential, competitive landscape, and strategic advantages of positioning Griffin as a leader in socially responsible technology. Then came the moment for the demonstration. Maya took a deep breath. "I'd planned to show you a live demonstration of our facial recognition system, including its age progression capabilities. However, we experienced some technical challenges this morning." A slight shifting around the table, the universal signal of executives preparing for disappointment. "Instead," Maya continued, "I'd like to share something more powerful than a technical demonstration. I'd like to share a story about why this technology matters." She clicked to a slide showing a missing persons poster, a young boy who had disappeared 5 years earlier. "This is James Martinez. He was 7 when he disappeared from a park in Phoenix. For 5 years, his family has lived in limbo, not knowing if he's alive or where he might be." She clicked to the next slide, showing a recent news article. "Last month, police in Seattle identified him living with a man claiming to be his uncle." The facial recognition software used by Seattle PD was rudimentary, with a matching process that took weeks. Maya paused, letting the story sink in. Griffin's technology could reduce that matching time to minutes, potentially shortening the time families spend in that unbearable state of not knowing. She clicked again, revealing a simplified version of the demo that Vijay had managed to salvage. "This is a streamlined version of our system. While we can't showcase all its capabilities today, you can see the fundamental pattern matching algorithm at work." The demonstration, though simpler than intended, effectively illustrated how Griffin's software could match photos across age differences, varying lighting conditions, and even partial facial coverings. "Every minute counts in missing persons cases," Maya continued. "Every day that passes makes recovery more difficult. Our technology can compress that timeline dramatically." not just for missing children, but for reuniting families separated by natural disasters, helping individuals with memory loss identify themselves, and supporting humanitarian organizations in reconnection efforts following conflicts. She clicked to her final slide, a projection of potential social impact metrics alongside business growth forecasts. This isn't just about doing good, it's about smart business. Companies leading in social responsibility consistently outperform market averages. The Technology for Humanity initiative positions Griffin at the intersection of innovation and social impact, a powerful place to be in today's market. When Maya finished speaking, there was a moment of silence. Then Elaine Griffin leaned forward, her expression thoughtful. "Ms. Roberts, how quickly could this program be implemented if approved today?" Maya felt a surge of hope. "We could launch a pilot with selected missing persons organizations within 60 days, with full implementation possible by year-end." Elaine nodded, turning to the CFO. "Martin, what's the financial impact?" After 20 minutes of detailed questions from board members, Elaine finally glanced at her watch. "I believe we have enough information to make a decision." She looked directly at Maya. "We'll need implementation details, of course, but in principle the board approves moving forward with the Technology for Humanity initiative, effective immediately." As Maya gathered her materials after the meeting, she couldn't help but feel a profound sense of accomplishment. Despite the technical challenges, she had connected with the board on a human level, helping them see beyond the technology to its potential impact. David approached as the room emptied. "That was masterful," he said quietly. "Particularly your pivot when the full demo wasn't available. Sometimes limitations force creativity," Maya replied, still riding the wave of success. "The executive team is having drinks at the loft to celebrate the end of board week," David said. "As the star of today's meeting, you should join us." At the Loft, an upscale bar near the office, Maya found herself welcomed into the inner circle of Griffin's leadership. Seated between Janet and the company's CTO, she fielded congratulations and follow-up questions about her initiative while trying to absorb the significance of the day's approval. Later in the evening, David made his way to her side, 2 glasses of champagne in hand. "A proper celebration," he said, offering her one. "What you accomplished today will change lives." "We accomplished it," Maya corrected, accepting the glass. "It's your technology. Applied with your vision," he countered. "Don't diminish your contribution." As the evening progressed, the gathering grew more relaxed. Maya found herself sharing stories with Elaine Griffin about her childhood in rural Georgia, while David discussed his early days as a struggling programmer with the CTO. It was nearly midnight when the group finally dispersed. Outside the bar, David hesitated. "Can I call you a car?" "I'm only a few blocks away," Maya said. "The walk will clear my head." "I'll walk with you," David offered. When she raised an eyebrow, he added, "In the same general direction." They strolled in comfortable silence for a while, the city quieter now, its usual frenetic energy subdued by the late hour. "You know," David said eventually, "when I gave you my card that day at the station, I had no idea you'd transform the company in less than 4 months." Maya laughed softly. "That's an exaggeration." "It's not," David insisted. "The Technology for Humanity initiative isn't just a program, it's becoming a core part of our identity. You've influenced how we think about our role in the world." They stopped at a corner where their paths would diverge. In the gentle glow of the streetlights, the moment felt charged with unspoken possibility. "I should get home," Maya said, suddenly aware of the subtle shift in atmosphere between them. David nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Maya," he began, then stopped. "Never mind, it's late. We can talk tomorrow." "What is it?" she asked, curious. He seemed to consider his words carefully. "I value our professional relationship enormously," he said finally, "but I found myself thinking about you in ways that extend beyond work. I wanted you to know that." The admission hung in the air between them, honest and undemanding. "I've had similar thoughts," Maya acknowledged, her voice soft but steady. "Really?" The surprise in his voice was almost endearing. "Really," she confirmed. "It's complicated. You're technically my boss's boss." "I know," David sighed, "which is why I haven't said anything before now. Corporate policy doesn't prohibit relationships across departments, but disclosures would be required, and the optics could undermine everything I'm trying to build professionally," Maya finished. He nodded. "The last thing I want is for your accomplishments to be attributed to anything other than your own brilliant work." The consideration in his words touched her deeply. "Thank you for understanding that. So we keep things professional," David said, a statement rather than a question. "For now," Maya replied, "while we figure out the right approach." As they parted ways, Maya felt both a sense of possibility and caution. The day had brought tremendous professional success, and now this personal revelation added another layer of complexity to her already transformed life. At home, as she kicked off her heels and reflected on the day's events, her phone lit up with a text from David. "Professional or not, today you made history at Griffin. Proud to know you." Maya smiled, typing back, "Proud to be known." In that moment, she realized that missing her train months ago had set her on a journey far more complex and rewarding than the straight-line career path she'd been so desperately pursuing. Life's detours, it seemed, sometimes led to the most promising destinations. "And in that time, you've created the most visible, positively received program in Griffin's recent history," Janet pointed out. "The board is noticing." Later that afternoon, Maya was preparing for a call with a potential nonprofit partner when her assistant, Tyler, knocked on her office door. "Ms. Roberts, there's someone here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she's quite insistent." He lowered his voice. "Says she's from Caldwell and Associates." Maya felt a small jolt of surprise. "Send her in, please." A moment later, a polished woman in her 50s entered Maya's office, her expression a careful mask of professional neutrality. "Ms. Roberts, I'm Diane Caldwell. Thank you for seeing me without an appointment." "Of course," Maya replied, gesturing toward the visitor's chair. "How can I help you?" Diane sat with precise movements, placing her designer handbag beside her. "I'll be direct. Caldwell and Associates is interested in partnering with Griffin Technologies on your Technology for Humanity initiative. We believe our client list could significantly expand your program's reach." The irony wasn't lost on Maya. The company that had dismissed her for missing an interview now sought her out. "That's certainly an interesting proposition," she said carefully. "Though I'm curious about the timing." "Meaning?" "Meaning that I applied for a position with your firm 8 months ago," Maya said. "When I had to reschedule my interview due to an emergency, I was told the position couldn't wait." Recognition flickered in Diane's eyes. "Ah, I wasn't aware. We process many applications." "Of course," Maya said, her tone professional despite the small vindication she felt. "Regarding your proposal, any potential partnership would need to align with our core values for the initiative. What specifically did you have in mind?" For the next half hour, they discussed possibilities, with Diane outlining how Caldwell's corporate clients might benefit from association with Griffin's social impact program. Throughout the conversation, Maya maintained her composure, treating Diane with the same professional courtesy she would any potential partner. When Diane finally stood to leave, she hesitated before offering her hand. "For what it's worth, Ms. Roberts, your emergency that day led you somewhere far better than our senior director position. The marketing world is talking about what you're building here." Maya accepted the handshake with a gracious nod. "Everything happens for a reason, doesn't it?" After Diane left, Maya sat for a moment, absorbing the full-circle nature of the encounter. 8 months ago, she'd been devastated by Caldwell's rejection. Now, she was in a position to evaluate them as a potential partner for a program she had created, a program that was changing lives and reshaping Griffin's public image. Her phone buzzed with a text from David. "Saw Diane Caldwell leaving your office. Everything okay?" Maya smiled at his concern, typing back, "More than okay. Life has a funny way of circling back sometimes." That evening, as Maya was preparing to leave the office, David appeared in her doorway. "Do you have dinner plans?" he asked. "Eli's with his mother tonight, and I thought maybe we could discuss the Caldwell meeting, professionally, of course." Over the past months, they had maintained their agreement to keep their relationship strictly professional, though Maya had become increasingly aware of the careful distance they both worked to preserve. They rarely met alone outside of work, and when they did, it was always with a clear business purpose. "Dinner sounds good," she said, gathering her things. "But I should warn you, there's not much to discuss about Caldwell. They're interested in associating their clients with our initiative, but I'm not convinced their approach aligns with our vision." "So a short dinner then?" David said with a smile that suggested he wouldn't mind if the conversation extended beyond business. At a small restaurant several blocks from the office, they were seated in a quiet corner booth. After ordering, David leaned back, studying her with open appreciation. "You've been extraordinary these past months," he said. "The way you've managed the initiative, the press attention, the partnerships, it's like watching someone who's found exactly where they're meant to be." "It feels that way," Maya admitted. "Like all those years of work were preparation for this specific role, even though I had no idea it existed." "That's often how the best paths reveal themselves," David observed. "Not through careful planning, but through responding authentically to unexpected moments." Their conversation flowed easily from work to more personal topics, books they'd recently read, a documentary David had watched with Eli, Maya's upcoming trip to visit her parents in Georgia. "They're still trying to understand what I actually do," Maya said with a laugh. "My mother keeps telling neighbors her daughter does computers in the city, as if I'm personally building each device. You should bring them to the office sometime," David suggested. "Let them see their daughter in action." "Maybe," Maya said, though the thought of her small-town parents navigating the sleek corporate environment of Griffin made her slightly nervous. As they shared dessert, a chocolate cake that David insisted was too good not to try, he grew thoughtful. "I've been meaning to talk to you about something. The company is restructuring some of its leadership roles, creating more specialized divisions to better align with our growth areas." "Janet mentioned something about that," Maya said. "New division heads." David nodded. 3 new divisions: consumer products, business solutions, and, he paused, social impact technologies. The board wants you to lead the latter. It would be a vice president position with your own budget team and direct reporting line to the executive committee. Maya set down her fork, stunned. I don't know what to say." "Say yes," David urged. "You've already been doing the work. This just makes it official with more resources and authority." "It's a huge step," Maya said, trying to process the implications. "I've never managed at that level. But you've proven you can lead," David countered. "The board vote was unanimous, if that helps." Maya felt a surge of emotion, pride, excitement, and a touch of apprehension. "When would this take effect?" "Next quarter, about 6 weeks from now." "And reporting structure?" Something shifted in David's expression. "That's the other thing I wanted to discuss. As VP of Social Impact Technologies, you'd report directly to the executive committee, not to me or Janet. Technically, we would be peers." The implication hung in the air between them. "Peers," Maya repeated, understanding immediately what he was suggesting. "Corporate disclosure would still be required," David said carefully, "but the conflict of interest concerns would be significantly reduced." Maya took a slow sip of her wine, considering. "Are you offering me a promotion so that we can date David?" "No," he said firmly. "I'm informing you of a promotion you've earned entirely on your merit, while also acknowledging that it removes a barrier that we've both been conscious of." The distinction mattered, and Maya appreciated his clarity. "I'd want some time after the promotion becomes official," she said after a moment, "to establish myself in the role before adding any personal complications." "Of course," David agreed readily. "I respect that completely." As they left the restaurant later that evening, their conversation had shifted to lighter topics, a silent agreement to table the personal implications until the professional transition was complete. At the corner where they would part ways, David hesitated. "Congratulations, Maya," he said simply. "No one deserves this more." "Thank you," she replied, "for the opportunity and for believing in me from that first day." "I didn't give you anything you didn't earn," he reminded her. "Remember that." As Maya walked home, the city lights reflecting off glass skyscrapers and storefronts, she marveled at how dramatically her life had changed in 8 short months. From the devastating moment of missing that train to becoming a vice president at one of the city's most innovative companies, a journey that began with a simple choice to help a child in need. Her phone buzzed with a text from Aisha. "Drinks tomorrow. Need to hear all about your fancy tech job, and if you finally asked out Mr. CEO. Maya smiled, typing back. "Definitely drinks tomorrow. Have big news on both fronts." Life, she was learning, rarely followed a straight line. Sometimes the most important moments were the detours, the missed trains that led to unexpected destinations. The promotion to Vice President of Social Impact Technologies came with both expected and surprising changes. Maya's new office on the executive floor offered a stunning view of the city, but more importantly, it positioned her physically and symbolically within Griffin's leadership circle. Her team expanded to include specialists from various departments, all focused on leveraging Griffin's technologies for social good. The first executive committee meeting as a peer rather than a presenter felt surreal. Seated at the same table where she had pitched her initiative less than a year earlier, Maya found herself discussing quarterly projections and strategic plans alongside Griffin's most senior leaders. The Technology for Humanity initiative has generated partnership inquiries from 37 organizations in the past quarter alone, Maya reported, displaying the metrics on the conference room screen. "We've successfully deployed our facial recognition system in 12 missing persons cases, with 9 positive identifications resulting in family reunifications." Elaine Griffin, still an imposing presence despite her 70 years, nodded approvingly. "The public relations value has been substantial as well. Our consumer trust metrics are up 17% since launch." After the meeting, Elaine asked Maya to stay behind. "You've exceeded expectations, Ms. Roberts," she said once they were alone. "Not everyone manages the transition from innovator to executive as smoothly as you have." "Thank you," Maya replied, "though I'm still learning the role every day." "That's precisely the attitude that will serve you well," Elaine said. "Too many executives believe they need to have all the answers immediately." She studied Maya thoughtfully. "David Chen thinks very highly of you." Maya maintained her professional composure despite the knowing look in Elaine's eyes. "David's been an excellent mentor." "Yes, I imagine he has," Elaine said with the faintest hint of amusement. "The disclosure forms have been processed, by the way. HR confirmed this morning." Maya felt heat rise in her cheeks. 2 weeks after her official promotion, she and David had submitted the required relationship disclosure to Human Resources, a formality that nonetheless felt like a significant step. "The company has no concerns," Elaine continued, "provided professional boundaries are maintained in the workplace. I trust you both to manage that appropriately." "Absolutely," Maya assured her. As she left the conference room, Maya reflected on how quickly her relationship with David had evolved once the professional barriers were removed. Their first official date, dinner at an intimate restaurant in the Arts District, had felt both new and familiar, as if they were finally allowing something natural to take its course. Over the past month, they had settled into a comfortable rhythm, seeing each other 2 or 3 evenings a week, with weekends often including Eli in their plans. Just last Sunday, they had visited the Science Museum, with Eli enthusiastically leading them from exhibit to exhibit, his natural curiosity a trait clearly inherited from his father. "Ms. Roberts," Tyler's voice interrupted her thoughts as she approached her office. "Your 3 o'clock is here, the journalist from Tech Impact." Maya nodded, quickly shifting back into professional mode. "Give me 2 minutes to review my notes, then send her in." The interview focused on Griffin's expanding social impact initiatives, with the journalist particularly interested in the humanitarian applications of their technology beyond missing persons cases. "We're exploring partnerships with disaster relief organizations," Maya explained, "to help reconnect displaced families after natural catastrophes. The same technology that can identify a missing child can help reunite parents with children separated during evacuation processes." "And what about privacy concerns?" the journalist asked, her expression skeptical. "Facial recognition technology has been criticized for potential misuse." "Absolutely valid concerns," Maya acknowledged, "which is why we've developed strict ethical guidelines for our partnerships. Our technology is only deployed with explicit consent, robust data protection protocols, and transparent oversight. We believe powerful tools require equally powerful safeguards." After the journalist left, Maya had barely settled back at her desk when her assistant announced another visitor, this one unexpected. "There's a Ms. Michelle Chen here. She says she's David's ex-wife." Maya felt a moment of surprise followed by curiosity. "Please send her in." Michelle Chen entered with confident strides, her surgical scrubs partially covered by a light jacket, her dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Though they had never met, Maya recognized her from photos in Eli's room, a striking woman with intelligent eyes and Eli's same expressive mouth. "Thank you for seeing me without notice," Michelle said, extending her hand. "I was at the hospital across the street for a consultation and thought I'd stop by rather than call." "Of course," Maya replied, gesturing toward the seating area near the window. "How can I help you?" Michelle settled into a chair, studying Maya with a directness that was slightly unnerving. "Be candid. Eli talks about you constantly, and David, while more reserved, has made it clear that your relationship is becoming significant. I thought it was time we met." "I appreciate that," Maya said, impressed by Michelle's straightforward approach. "Eli is an amazing kid. I've enjoyed getting to know him." "He's quite attached to you," Michelle observed, "which is why I wanted to understand your intentions." The question was bold but not hostile, a mother looking out for her child's emotional well-being. Maya respected that. "My relationship with David is still developing," she answered honestly. "But I take my connection with Eli very seriously. I know that any relationship with David inherently includes him." Michelle nodded, seemingly satisfied with the response. "Eli's had to adjust to a lot of changes. The divorce, splitting time between 2 households, David's work schedule. He's resilient, but children need stability." "I understand," Maya said. "And I would never want to add unnecessary complications to his life." Something in Michelle's expression softened. "He told me you helped him when he was lost at the train station. That's actually how we first heard about you, months before David mentioned dating you." "That feels like a lifetime ago," Maya said with a slight smile. David said it changed the course of his life, Michelle remarked. Finding someone who would miss an important interview to help a stranger's child. It changed my life too, Maya acknowledged, though I had no idea how much at the time. They talked for another 15 minutes, the conversation shifting to more general topics. Michelle's work as a pediatric surgeon, Maya's recent promotion, Eli's upcoming science fair project. As Michelle prepared to leave, she hesitated at the door. Eli asked if you might come to his science fair next week, she said. He's presenting on facial recognition technology inspired by your work. He said, and I quote, Maya will understand it better than anyone. Maya felt a rush of affection for the boy. I'd love to attend if that's all right with both you and David. I suggested it, Michelle said with a small smile. Thursday at 7, Roosevelt Elementary. David has the details. After Michelle left, Maya sat for a moment, processing the encounter. There was something profoundly meaningful about being invited into this part of David and Eli's life. Not just the fun weekend outings or casual dinners, but the co-parenting coordination, the school events, the everyday fabric of family life. Her phone buzzed with a text from David. Just heard you met Michelle, you okay? Maya smiled, typing back. More than okay. She invited me to Eli's science fair. I like her. His reply came quickly. She said the same about you. Dinner tonight. I want to hear everything. At dinner that evening at David's apartment after Eli had gone to bed, Maya recounted her conversation with Michelle while they sat comfortably on the sofa, sharing a bottle of wine. She loves him fiercely, Maya observed. It's beautiful to see. We both do, David agreed. It's the one thing that never changed, even when everything else between us did. He hesitated, swirling the wine in his glass. Does it bother you? The complexity of it all, ex-wife, co-parenting schedules, a child in the mix. Life is complex, Maya replied thoughtfully. Simple narratives are rarely the meaningful ones. David set his glass down and reached for her hand, his expression serious. I'm falling in love with you, Maya Roberts. I think I started falling that day at the train station, watching you kneel down to help my terrified son when everyone else rushed past. The words hung in the air between them, honest and unadorned. I'm falling in love with you too, Maya admitted quietly. And with Eli, and with the life we might build together. As David drew her closer, Maya reflected on how differently her life might have unfolded if she'd made the seemingly correct choice that morning at the station, catching her train, making her interview, perhaps even landing that position at Caldwell and Associates. Instead, she had followed her instinct to help a child in distress, setting in motion a chain of events that led her not just to professional success beyond her original ambitions, but to deeper personal connections than she had thought possible. Sometimes, Maya realized, the most consequential moments in life were the small choices that no one else noticed, the missed trains that led to unexpected destinations and opened doors you never knew existed. If this story about life's unexpected turns and how small acts of kindness can lead to profound change resonates with you, please consider subscribing. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful narratives that explore the depth of human experience and the moral choices that shape our lives. The next 6 months brought a whirlwind of developments, both professional and personal. Under Maya's leadership, the Social Impact Technologies Division expanded its initiatives beyond missing persons cases to include disaster response technologies, accessibility innovations for disabled communities, and educational tools for underserved schools. A profile in Business Innovator magazine dubbed Maya, the conscience of tech, highlighting her unique approach to leveraging cutting-edge technology for humanitarian purposes. The article included a photo of Maya with Elaine Griffin and David Chen at a recent charity gala, referring to them as Griffin Technologies Power Trio, the founder, the innovator, and the visionary bridging technology with human needs. On the personal front, Maya's relationship with David deepened steadily, with their lives becoming increasingly intertwined. What began as occasional dinners evolved into weekends spent together, holiday celebrations, and comfortable domestic routines that included Eli. I keep a toothbrush at your place and you keep clothes in my closet, David observed one evening as they prepared dinner in his kitchen. At what point do we acknowledge we're essentially living between two apartments? When you make a formal proposal, Maya teased, though the question had been increasingly on her mind as well. Their current arrangement, while functional, involved constant coordination and packing bags for overnight stays. David smiled, stirring the pasta sauce. Speaking of which, he said casually, Eli asked me yesterday if you were going to be his stepmom someday. Maya nearly dropped the plates she was carrying. He did. What did you tell him? I said that we care about each other very much, but adult relationships develop at their own pace. David turned to face her. Then he informed me that I was being too slow and that he'd already decided you belong with us permanently. Maya laughed, though her heart raced at the implications. 8-year-old matchmakers can be very determined. He's not wrong, though, David said, his expression growing serious. About you belonging with us. Before Maya could respond, his phone rang, Michelle calling about a change to the weekend schedule. The moment passed, but the conversation lingered in Maya's thoughts that night as she drove back to her own apartment. 2 weeks later, Maya found herself in Georgia, visiting her parents for the first time since starting at Griffin Technologies. Sitting on the porch of her childhood home, watching fireflies illuminate the early evening darkness, she updated her mother on the whirlwind her life had become. I always knew you'd do important things, her mother said, pride evident in her voice. But I worried you were chasing success at the expense of happiness. You seem to have found both. I have, Maya agreed, still somewhat amazed by the turns her life had taken, and it all started with a missed train. No, her mother corrected gently. It started with the kind of person you chose to be in that moment. The train was just circumstance. Your choice was character. The observation stayed with Maya during her flight back to the city the next day. Her mother was right. Life's pivotal moments weren't just about luck or circumstance, but about how you responded to them, what values guided your decisions when faced with competing priorities. David and Eli met her at the airport, Eli holding a slightly lopsided welcome home sign decorated with glitter and marker drawings. We missed you, David said simply, embracing her. I was only gone for 3 days, Maya laughed. Felt longer, Eli insisted, wrapping his arms around her waist. Dad burned the pancakes twice. Later that evening, after Eli had gone to bed, David led Maya to the balcony of his apartment where he had set up 2 chairs with a small table between them. A bottle of champagne chilled in an ice bucket. What's the occasion? Maya asked, settling into a chair. Coming home, David replied, pouring 2 glasses, or more accurately, recognizing where home is. He reached into his pocket and withdrew a small velvet box, placing it on the table between them. I was going to plan some elaborate proposal, but then I realized something. Our relationship began with a simple, honest moment at a train station. It seems fitting to continue that tradition. Maya's heart thundered in her chest as she stared at the box. I love you, Maya, David said quietly. You changed my life by showing kindness to my son when it cost you something significant. Since then, you've become essential to both of us. He pushed the box gently toward her. This isn't just about marriage, it's about family, the one we've already started building. With slightly trembling fingers, Maya opened the box to reveal a ring with a single diamond set in a simple, elegant band. Eli helped pick it out, David added with a small smile. He said you wouldn't want anything too flashy for work. Maya laughed through the tears that had begun to form in her eyes. He's very observant. He is, David agreed. And very eager for an answer, which he made me promise to call him with regardless of the hour. Maya closed the ring box and held it tightly in her palm, feeling its weight not just of the object itself, but of the commitment it represented. I need to ask you something first, she said. Anything. That day at the station, Maya began, when you gave me your card, was it just gratitude, or did you feel something even then? David considered the question thoughtfully. Gratitude came first, he admitted. But there was something else, a recognition, watching you with Eli, seeing how you handled the situation with such natural compassion. It wasn't just that you helped him, it was how you helped him with dignity and genuine care. He paused. So yes, something began that day, though I couldn't have named it then. Maya nodded, satisfied with his answer. Then my answer is yes, she said, opening the box again and offering it to him. I would be honored to marry you and to be a part of your family, officially, since unofficially, I think we've been family for some time now. As David slipped the ring onto her finger, Maya thought again of her mother's words. The missed train had been circumstance, but every choice after that had been character, both hers and David's, recognizing something valuable in each other and choosing again and again to nurture that connection. Should we call Eli? Maya asked, admiring the way the ring caught the city lights. In a minute, David said, drawing her into his arms. Let's just have this moment for us. They stayed on the balcony late into the night, talking about practical matters like living arrangements. They would look for a new place together, wedding plans, small and intimate, and how to tell their colleagues professional but honest. Behind these logistical discussions lay the profound realization that their lives, once running on separate tracks, had merged into a shared journey. The next morning, Eli's exuberant reaction to the news, jumping on the bed and immediately asking if this meant Maya would be at all the breakfasts now, confirmed what they already knew. This wasn't just a union of two people, but the formal recognition of a family that had been forming naturally for months. As they sat around the breakfast table, Eli chattering excitedly about his role in the wedding and whether they might get a dog now that they'd be a real family, Maya caught David's eye across the table. His expression mirrored her own thoughts, amazement at how a single moment of kindness in a busy train station had set in motion all that followed. Sometimes, the trains we miss lead us exactly where we're meant to be. 1 year later, on a crisp autumn day, Maya stood in the small garden of the historic mansion they had chosen for their wedding venue. Dressed in a simple but elegant ivory gown, she took a moment alone before the ceremony to reflect on the journey that had led her here. The past year had brought both challenges and joys. Finding and renovating their new home, integrating their lives fully, navigating the complexities of co-parenting with Michelle, who had, somewhat surprisingly, become a friend and ally, and continuing to build Griffin's social impact technologies division into a model that other companies were beginning to emulate. Through it all, the foundation laid that day at the train station had held firm, the recognition of shared values, the willingness to prioritize human connection over professional advancement, and the understanding that sometimes life's most important paths weren't the ones you had planned to take. Maya's parents approached, her father looking distinguished in his first-ever tuxedo, her mother radiant in a blue dress she had spent months selecting. "It's almost time," her mother said, straightening Maya's necklace. David and Eli are already at the altar, both looking handsome enough to stop traffic. Eli's practically bouncing with excitement, her father added with a chuckle. That boy couldn't be happier if he'd arranged this marriage himself. In some ways, he did, Maya smiled, thinking of all the subtle and not-so-subtle ways Eli had nudged their relationship forward. As her father offered his arm to escort her down the aisle, he paused. "You know," he said quietly, "when you told us about missing that important interview to help a lost child, your mother said right then, that choice will come back to bless her." And look how right she was. Maya squeezed his arm, too moved to speak. The ceremony itself was intimate, just 50 guests including close family, friends, and a few colleagues who had become both. Elaine Griffin sat in the front row, her usual corporate power replaced by the soft smile of someone witnessing something genuine and right. Janet Winters was there with her husband, as was Aisha, who had been Maya's most enthusiastic supporter from the first mention of David. But it was the sight of David and Eli waiting at the altar that filled Maya's heart completely. David, handsome in his dark suit, watching her approach with eyes that held 1.5 years of shared memories. And Eli beside him, serving as best man, his small face solemn with the responsibility but unable to contain flashes of pure joy. Their vows, written together over several evening discussions, spoke not just of love and commitment to each other, but of family, the one they had created and would continue to nurture. When they reached the part specifically addressing Eli, David knelt down to his son's level. "Eli," Maya said, her voice steady despite the emotion, "I promise to respect the family you already have with your dad and mom while building something new together with you. I promise to listen to your stories, celebrate your victories, help with your challenges, and always keep space in my heart that belongs just to you." Eli, in a moment of unplanned sweetness that brought tears to many eyes, reached out to take Maya's hand along with his father's, creating a small circle of connection. The reception that followed was filled with laughter, dancing, and heartfelt toasts. Michelle raised her glass to the woman who helped my son when he was lost, and who has helped build a bridge between two families. Aisha teased Maya about how a missed train and a lost child had accomplished what years of her matchmaking attempts had failed to do. Late in the evening, as the celebration continued around them, David led Maya onto the mansion's terrace for a moment of quiet. "Happy?" he asked, though her radiant expression had already answered the question. "Beyond words," she replied, leaning against him as they gazed at the garden lights twinkling below. "It's strange to think how differently things might have gone. If you'd caught your train that day," David mused. "I've thought about that too, but I've come to believe that people like you and me, we'd have found each other somehow." "You think so?" Maya smiled at the romantic notion. "I do," he said with quiet conviction. "Maybe not as quickly or directly, but people who share fundamental values tend to eventually cross paths. You would still be you, making choices based on compassion rather than convenience. I would still be me, recognizing and valuing that quality." From inside came the sound of Eli's laughter, followed by the clinking of glasses, another toast being proposed. "We should get back," Maya said, though she was reluctant to leave their peaceful moment. David nodded but held her hand a moment longer. "Thank you," he said simply. "For what?" "For missing your train," he replied with a smile. "And for everything that followed." As they rejoined their celebration, surrounded by the people who had witnessed and supported their journey, Maya reflected on how life's most meaningful paths often began with the simplest choices, stopping to help when it would be easier to hurry past, recognizing value beyond professional credentials, building connections based on genuine character rather than convenience. Her missed train had led her not just to a different destination, but to a different understanding of success itself, one measured not by titles or achievements alone, but by the lives touched, the relationships formed, and the positive change created along the way. In the end, perhaps there were no missed trains at all, only different journeys waiting to be discovered by those willing to step off the expected path and follow their deeper instincts about what truly mattered. Thank you for joining us on Maya's journey. If this story about how small choices can lead to life-changing outcomes resonated with you, please subscribe to At Precipitous Stories for more narratives that explore the depth and complexity of human experience. We'd also love to hear your thoughts in the comments. When has an unexpected detour in your own life led to something meaningful that you couldn't have anticipated?